And now I invite Scott back to the stage to present the President's Award to a person I am delighted to call a friend and a colleague, CNN's Christiane Amanpour.
So the life of a war correspondent has never been easy. It requires steely nerves, of course. The logistics can be daunting and danger real. It also requires a deep understanding of the world and an ability to focus, to ask tough questions in high-pressure settings, and to find the stories behind the stories. Christiane Amanpour, tonight's recipient of the President's Award, is one of the leading war reporters of this or any generation. She has covered genocide and war in Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. She has reported from every part of the world over the course of 4 decades and produced award-winning documentaries and in-depth specials. She also has put numerous world leaders on the spot in tough interviews. Christiane has said that her desire to be a journalist was kindled by her family's firsthand experience with trauma. Her father was an Iranian travel agent, and the family left Iran after Saddam Hussein invaded in 1980, following the Islamic Revolution. They lost everything they owned in Iran. She earned a degree in journalism from the University of Rhode Island and worked for an NBC affiliate in Providence before CNN hired her as an assistant on the international news desk. She soon moved to CNN's New York City bureau as a producer-correspondent, and from there to the Frankfurt bureau in the midst of the pro-democracy movement then underway in Europe. Many of us remember her illustrious work from her next assignment, covering the Persian Gulf War, from the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait to the victory of the US-led coalition. She has won awards for her journalism and her dedication to journalistic freedom. And yes, she also has won an OPC award for her work covering the Arab Spring for ABC News, as well as several citations. She is currently Chief International Anchor for CNN and host of CNN International's nightly interview program, Amanpour. She is also host of Amanpour & Company on PBS. I am pleased to give this year's President's Award to one of the world's most respected journalists, Christiane Amanpour.
Thank you very much indeed. I was incredibly honored, obviously, to be asked to accept this and to be told that I was accepting it, given how I know the illustrious predecessors that have come before me and all this amazing work that's being honored here this evening. But when my friend John Avalon asked me whether I would be available to come from England for this, I of course said, yeah. I did not know that it would be this kind of week in the media capital of the world. We have seen a lot of accountability, we've seen some firings, we've seen some settlements, and we have learned something this week. We have learned that truth matters, that misinformation and disinformation are not okay, and they will be held accountable. We have learned that sexism and misogyny is not okay. And we have learned tonight especially, and by the work all our colleagues do, that this noble profession, this craft of journalism, from the local to the global, to the war zones, to wherever people tell stories, is truly one of the most important professions in the world. Therefore, and we know that really good journalism matters and can make a difference. So I want to start by quoting a true media revolutionary, the person who created the media revolution of the 20th century and who just happens to be our founder and, for a long time, my boss. This is what he said: "To act upon one's convictions while others wait, to create a positive force in a world where cynics abound, to provide information to people where it wasn't available before, to offer those who want it a choice, for the cable industry whose pioneering spirit caused this great step forward in communications, and for those employees of Turner Broadcasting whose total commitment to their company has brought us together today, I dedicate the News Channel for America, the cable news network. That was Ted Turner, June 1st, 1980. That is 43 years ago, as he created, as I said, the 20th century media revolution. And I was reacquainted with that dedication when I visited CNN's Washington bureau not long ago for an interview that I was doing there, and I saw it on the wall, and I was so glad to see it there. Of course, 5 years later, he made CNN the news channel for the world. And that short dedication has everything in it: get up and go, do the right thing, purpose and mission, offering choice, seeking truth. It marks the brave new world industry, and that is, of course, what America is all about, the innovation, and a company with employees who are all in. I've been all in from the moment I hopped on the Ted Turner bandwagon. Ted's other great admonition was to lead, follow, and get out of the way. I visited Ted in Georgia this past weekend, and I asked him about all the ways that he was ahead of the curve and how he got there, not just in the media, but leading on climate and conservation, private philanthropy, bringing superpowers together at the height of the Cold War with his Goodwill Games. And then, after the Soviet Union fell apart, creating the Nuclear Threat Initiative in order to corral loose nukes and keep our world safer. I wanted to know, and I asked him, what motivated him? And he told me that he had always tried to do the right thing. Simple enough. So I found trying to do the right thing as a journalist to be a mission to tell stories and to try to create a relationship between the people and the events that we covered and our audience, between our audience and the world, so that they would know and they would care, and they would then perhaps be able to make a difference. To expose injustices, the inequities, the human rights abuses, to give the invisible their chance to be seen and heard. I really believe foreign correspondents matter, even though we're not allowed to say foreign at CNN. Ted banned that word a long time ago. We say international. I really believe we matter. Sure, we rely and we need all the people who we meet in the field and who work for us, work with us rather, as has been correctly acknowledged tonight. But it matters that we get up from the free and democratic world and take our mission and our passion around to walk the walk, to talk the talk, and to tell the stories that everybody needs to see. And we know that good journalism, as I said, is vital. And when we do it well, it makes a difference. And when we confuse our roles and our responsibilities as journalists, it also makes a difference, but very much for the worst. All the journalists killed and wounded and imprisoned on the job, as we noted tonight, and as that beautiful candle lit by the ambassador of Ukraine very poignantly, speaks to the incredible risks and the sacrifices that everyone makes. And tonight we join in the call for the immediate release of Evan Gershkovich of the Wall Street Journal, who is wrongfully imprisoned by Russia. Just to say, in the stories that I've covered in the field this past year, I am so utterly impressed and inspired by the spirit of Ukraine. I reported something similar, a little smaller, but nonetheless, the first genocide in Europe since World War II, which was in Bosnia, for all those years. And we watched then as the world didn't really move. They didn't really intervene quick enough, even though we were all there telling this story every single day. It was on the front page of every newspaper and magazine. It was on the A block of every single news organization, television, radio. It took a long, long time for the world to intervene and do the right thing and stop a genocide in the 20th century, as they saw it on global satellite television. And so I'm really pleased for the people of Ukraine that the world has recognized much, much earlier that this has to be stopped. And for the good of humanity, for the good of democracy, for the good of the rules of the international law and order that we all believe in, We have to keep telling this story, and we can never get tired of telling this story, and the Ukrainian people have to win. For the people and the women of Afghanistan, my heart breaks. For the women of Iran, my heart breaks. I'm so glad that their stories are still being told. The bravery is just incredible. It is unimaginable to us sitting here, except of course for all the people who've been and told the stories. The kind of bravery it takes to keep living, to keep your hopes up under unspeakable and appalling and illegitimate and unjust oppression as the women of the world, particularly in those countries I mentioned, are undergoing. So let me finally take the opportunity to thank my dedicated and brilliant team, because it takes teamwork to make the dream work. I want to acknowledge the amazing global platform that CNN affords our journalism and the fantastic partnership that my show has with PBS to spread this journalism all across the United States. I was reminded recently by a friend, as if it's not blindingly obvious all around us, of the philosopher who said many years ago that the sign of a society in decay is when language and action get separated from the truth. And therefore, it is our responsibility to double down. Thank you so much. I'm deeply, deeply honored. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you.